He dismantled the narrative and exposed the corruption lurking behind the scenes. The FBI's mysterious $50,000 payout, the unanswered questions, and the hidden truths are finally coming to light. You're about to witness a political scandal that could shake the system to its core. Don't blink.
Senator, as Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review by the FBI, agents, and DOJ prosecutors. They found no credible evidence of any wrongdoing.
And that was not my question. My question was, what became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI delivered, evidently in a paper bag, to Mr. Homan?
Senator, I'd look at your facts.
Are you saying that they did not deliver $50,000 in cash to Mr. Homan?
Senator, as recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review
different question.
by the FBI agents,
That's a
by
different
Department
question.
of Justice prosecutors. They found no evidence of wrongdoing.
That's a different question. What became of the $50,000? Did the FBI get it back?
Mr. Whitehouse, Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to talk to the FBI.
The report to you, can't you answer this question?
Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to discuss this with Director Patel.
Did Homan keep the $50,000?
As Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr.
Never mind.
Homan
I can
was
see I'm not going to get a straight
full
answer from you to a very simple
by
question.
the FBI agents and the DOJ.
Do
They
you
found
know-
no credible evidence of wrongdoing. You know, you're very concerned about money and people taking money, and
Do
you
you
rail
know-
against
wait a
dark
second,
money.
wait a second, wait a
Yet you
second,
work with dark
wait a
money
second.
groups all the time, Senator
Wait a
Whitehouse.
second. Did you know whether or not in that investigation they looked at whether the $50,000 payment to Mr. Homan was declared by him on his tax returns?
Senator, I would be more concerned if I were you when you talk about corruption and money that when you pushed for legislation that would subsidize your wife's company.
The questions here are actually pretty specific. So having you respond with completely irrelevant far-right internet talking points really is not very helpful here. I'd like, Mr. Chairman, you generally like to have us be able to get answers to know, and we'll follow up with the QFR. And to the extent Patel wants to answer, that would be great as well. What happened to the $50,000? Did Homan keep it? Did the FBI get it back? If he kept it, did he put it on his tax returns? Pretty simple questions. Homan was the same guy who said there was a deal with Eric Adams. He said, if Adams doesn't come through, I'll be back. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to? Which brings us to the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee, because he was also involved in that transaction.
Yeah.
What became of the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee?
Yeah, Senator Whitehouse, to correct you for one moment, that would be the Honorable Judge Emil J. Bovee III to you.
Not at the time of this. He was an employee of the Department of Justice. And what became of the OPR investigation?
It's
into
all
his
pending litigation,
misconduct?
Senator. I can't discuss pending litigation nor personnel matters.
OPR customarily publicly says when there's an investigation, and at the end of it, they provide a summary. Why can't you say whether there's an OPR investigation and whether, if it's concluded, there's a summary?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
Even public ones.
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
So Kash Patel told this committee that his grand jury testimony after immunization, after initially pleading the fifth, was, and I quote, sealed by the Department of Justice. How and when and why was his testimony sealed, and by whom?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss any testimony, especially testimony that could be sealed with you.
No, the question is, was it or was it not sealed?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Well, he also said that he worked with the Department of Justice to have his transcript released publicly. How and when was his transcript released? Presumably, if he released it publicly, that's something you can discuss because it's public.
Well, Senator, I believe you discussed that with Director Patel.
And I'm asking you because he said the Department of Justice made this decision and you run the Department of Justice.
I would refer that to Director Patel.
Even though you run the Department of Justice and he testified that the Department of Justice released his transcript publicly.
If it is released publicly, we will get you a copy, Senator, gladly.
If being a rather important word there, when your FBI director testified that that was a fact. Treasury compiles suspicious activity reports, referred to often as SARs, that DOJ receives automatically. Hundreds related to accounts of Jeffrey Epstein. How many of those Treasury SARs did you or Director Patel investigate?
Senator, I'm not sure if you're concerned because you took money, I believe, did you, from Reid Hoffman, one of Epstein's closest confidants, not only once but twice in 2018 and 2024, if that's correct. But, Senator, did you ask Merrick Garland any of this over the last 4 years when he sat before you? This investigation has been going on. This investigation was closed. Did you ask Alex Acosta that?
And Patel came to office, you said you would look into this. There were hundreds of suspicious activity reports. Some people would deduce from the fact that they are called suspicious activity reports that there might be suspicious activity. And yet you seem to have looked at zero of those suspicious activity reports involving Jeffrey Epstein accounts. Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that? Okay. Here's what we cut to something else. The Marshal Service is supposed to protect our federal judges. I have asked repeatedly for the Marshal Service to let me know if they are investigating or being inhibited from investigating whether or not there is orchestration of threats against federal judges, whether under either conspiracy laws or racketeering enterprise laws or aiding and abetting laws, whatever. But as you know, there's the person who says the threat, and then there may very well be somebody orchestrating the threat behind them. Mm-hmm. Is the Marshal Service allowed to investigate orchestration of threats, and do you know if they've taken one step to do so?
May I answer the question, Chairman Grassley? The time has expired.
I think it's the convention of the committee that if I've started my question in my time, you may answer the
I was
question.
asking the chairman.
Okay, before I go to Cornyn.
She wants to answer the question, Chairman.
Oh, please go ahead. I thought you said you didn't want to answer it. I'm
Yes, sir.
sorry.
Thank you. Senator Whitehouse, I would be happy to sit down with you regarding any threat to any federal judge in this country. We take threats very seriously. I will set a meeting with you, with Director Seralta of the U.S. Marshals, and I will be there. And we will talk about any threats on federal judges.
Including
who
orchestration.
threatened them or who orchestrated them.
Bingo. Thank you.
What you just witnessed was not merely a heated exchange, but a deep dive into the underbelly of a scandal that threatens to shake the very foundations of our institutions. Senator Whitehouse, in his sharp questioning, asked one simple but incredibly important question. What happened to the $50,000 that the FBI allegedly handed over in a paper bag to Mr. Homeman? Yet, despite the evasive responses and the countless attempts to deflect, the central question still remains unanswered. This isn't a matter of a single man and a cash payment. It is emblematic of a much larger issue, a systematic failure within the institutions we rely on to uphold justice and accountability. It's easy to get caught up in the narrative of money changing hands or the drama of political battles, but the real story here is far more significant. It's about accountability, something that should be non-negotiable in any democratic society. If the Department of Justice, the FBI, and high-ranking officials can avoid direct answers to straightforward questions under oath, what does that say about the state of our justice system? Why is the investigation into Mr. Homan's actions and the $50,000 payment left in such ambiguity, with important questions remaining unanswered? The public is being told half-truths and vague responses. But the American people deserve more than that. They deserve transparency. They deserve to know what happened to that $50,000. Was it ever returned to the government? Did Mr. Homan keep it? Did he declare it on his tax returns? These aren't just technicalities. They are fundamental questions of fairness, transparency, and proper governance. The failure to provide clear answers only deepens the mistrust between the public and the institutions that are meant to serve them. But the problem doesn't stop there. The evasiveness surrounding this single payment is part of a much broader issue. It's not just about the FBI's handling of one incident, it's about the pattern of corruption that stretches across multiple facets of government and society. As the Senate hearing drags on, it becomes glaringly obvious that certain individuals and groups, backed by their positions of power, seem to be untouchable. We see this reflected in the investigation, or lack thereof, into the suspicious activity surrounding Jeffrey Epstein's financial dealings. Hundreds of suspicious activity reports, SARs, involving Epstein's associates have surfaced. Yet the question remains, why was nothing done about them? Why did the authorities fail to investigate these reports, despite the obvious connections to a figure as notorious as Epstein? The victims in this case are not just the individuals caught up in these scandals, but the American people as a whole. These are not isolated incidents. They are part of a larger failure to ensure transparency and accountability in the highest echelons of power. The public has a right to know how their government operates, how their tax dollars are spent, and how justice is being upheld. When the government turns a blind eye to corruption and allows powerful individuals to escape scrutiny, it undermines the very trust that the American people place in their institutions. Senator Whitehouse's dogged pursuit of the truth and his refusal to accept vague answers should be commended. It takes a rare kind of determination to continue pressing for answers in the face of evasion and obfuscation. His actions highlight the systemic flaws within our government, flaws that are designed to protect the powerful and shield them from accountability. This is not just a political game, it's a matter of integrity and justice. How many more cases are being swept under the rug in the name of political expediency? How many more instances of corruption will be ignored because it's easier to look the other way? The real tragedy here is that these systemic failures have real consequences for the American people. It's easy to become disillusioned by the constant political bickering and media noise, but the damage done by these missteps is tangible. Whether it's the mishandling of funds, the failure to investigate suspicious financial activities, or the systemic corruption that goes unchallenged, the American people are the ones who bear the brunt of these failures. They are the ones who have to live with the consequences of these misdeeds, and yet they are the ones who are least likely to get the answers they deserve. Now, we have a choice. We can continue to let the powerful protect themselves, or we can demand change. We can continue to ignore the glaring issues within our system, or we can take a stand. This is not just a fight for justice. It's a fight for the future of our democracy. The truth must come out. No one, no matter how powerful, should be above the law. The American people have a right to hold their leaders leaders accountable, and it's time we all start demanding answers. The status quo is not acceptable. We cannot afford to remain passive while these questions go unanswered. We must push for transparency. We must demand accountability, and we must ensure that this isn't just another scandal that fades away with time. This is our opportunity to reclaim our government and restore the integrity that has been lost. We have a duty to future generations to ensure that justice is not only done, but is seen to be done. So here's the call to action. It's time to take this fight to the next level. Share this video. Get the word out. Let's make sure these questions don't go unheard. Subscribe and stay loud. When the system fails the people, we must stand up and demand change. We cannot wait for someone else to do it. The power is in our hands to shape the future and ensure that justice is served, no matter who stands in the way. He dismantled the narrative and exposed the corruption lurking behind the scenes. The FBI's mysterious $50,000 payout, the unanswered questions, and the hidden truths are finally coming to light. You're about to witness a political scandal that could shake the system to its core. Don't blink.